Welcome back, friends. We are still in Matthew chapter 8 and looking forward to talking a little bit more about the miracles of Jesus. Join us today.
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hey friends, welcome back. We're in Matthew chapter 8, and we're in this section of the book of Matthew where we're just reading miracle after miracle of Jesus. So exciting to see the power of the Lord, the care of the Lord, but most importantly, the mission. Remember that the miracles underscore the message, which underscores the great mission of Jesus. We're in Matthew chapter 8. I got a frog in my throat this morning, but to Matthew chapter 8, and I want you to see verse number 5, where the Bible says, "And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum," so Capernaum, we know this already, was Jesus' adopted hometown, the headquarters of his Galilean ministry, "there came unto him a centurion beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented." So we know from the parallel passages that this centurion was a man of some notoriety in Capernaum. He had actually been part of the building of the synagogue. It's a privilege for me to lead trips to Israel, and by the way, we're going, here's a shameless plug, we're going May 26th. We're leaving on Memorial Day. We're getting back the following Thursday. This is just kind of a last minute deal, and it's almost already full. But if you'd like to join us, just get on the website and check it out, landofthebible.org. But if you do go one day, I'll take you to Capernaum and I'll show you this synagogue. We'll look at the actual foundation of the synagogue about which we're speaking here. So this centurion actually was part of the building. The Bible says he helped us build a synagogue. So whatever that meant, whether that meant that he was overseeing the labor or he was encouraging others, we don't know. But this man was a Roman soldier, not a Jew, stationed in that area. And understand that Capernaum was a strategic place for a couple reasons. Number one, it was right on the Sea of Galilee, so the fishing trade. Matthew sat at the receipt of custom right there in Capernaum. And it was also on the border of the tetrarchy of Herod Antipas and Herod Philip, which was just a little bit to the Herod Philip's reign or tetrarchy. The area was just a little bit to the east of Capernaum. So it was a major road. It was a major port as far as a lake was concerned. And it was a strategic place politically and even militarily. So the centurion was there, and he's not a Jew. And yet, wow, the way this miracle unfolds and what Jesus has to say about this Gentile is just astounding. So he has a servant, this centurion does, a man of some means, and he has a heart for this servant, which is unusual. Typically, you think about a Roman soldier, especially a centurion, as being a harsh, tough guy, and yet he has a real burden for this servant of his, and he goes to Jesus, and he wants Jesus to help. So there's a humility there, and there is something about the centurion that knows that Jesus cares, that Jesus would even answer his prayer. I mean, there's a whole lot going on here. Verse number 6, he said, Lord, my servant, so think about that. He calls him Lord. My servant lieth at home, sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. He's really going through it. He's paralyzed in some way. And Jesus said unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I'm not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. So this man has great humility, which again would be something antithetical to what you would think about when you thought about a Roman centurion. And the man said, Lord, I wouldn't be worthy for you to come to my house. I'm not, just say the word. Say the word, he'll be healed. Now, think about the faith of the centurion. What was he saying? He was saying, Lord, you don't even need to be there for this miracle to take place. Now, that's an astounding thing, because anybody that would understand miracles would understand, oh, well, Jesus is always there. He's touching that leprous man. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. Or he is touching that blind man, or he is in view of. But to do it absentee, where does the centurion get this idea? Well, it may be that this centurion knew the nobleman of John chapter 4. Because remember the nobleman of John 4 who went to Cana and met Jesus there and said, my son is sick back in Capernaum. And Jesus said, go thy way, thy son is healed. And the man realized that Jesus had healed his son long distance. Now think about that miracle had taken place before this. Well, I have to imagine that because of their status and because of their position, the nobleman would have known the centurion. And so this centurion, I think in his mind was thinking, wow, Jesus has done it before, he can do it again. And he had great faith. Think about the faith this centurion had. His faith wasn't in Jesus' act or what Jesus could do physically. His faith was in the word of Jesus, in the power of the word. What a way to say it. The power of the word. Say the word only. It shall be done. I wonder if we believers, quote unquote believers, have that kind of confidence in the word of Jesus, that the word has power. And that's what this man testified. Watch Jesus' response in verse number 8, verse number 7. Jesus saith unto him, I will come and heal him. But the centurion said, okay, we read this. I'm not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only. My servant shall be healed. And here's his rationale. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. I say to this man, go, and he goeth. To another, come, and he cometh. And to my servant, do this, and he doeth it. So the centurion figured, I have authority in my realm, my physical realm, my military realm. And when I give an order, people do what I say because they understand the structure of authority. So the centurion says, so in the spiritual realm, I understand the structure of authority. You are the leader. You are the authority. Your preaching, your teaching, your miracles demonstrate that. So if you'll say the word, it will be done. Why? Because I understand authority. Now think about it. Matthew is writing the book of Matthew to demonstrate the authority of Jesus to unbelieving Jews or to seeking Jews, and showing them that Jesus is indeed that Messiah. He is the King. So this is a really important miracle, isn't it? And then it says in verse number 10, when Jesus heard it, he marveled. He was amazed. He said to them that followed. So there's always a team of people traveling with Jesus, not just the apostles, but others. And Jesus had something to say to those that were there within earshot. And he says in verse number 10, verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and the west and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, an amazing statement by Jesus. Let's break it down. First of all, Jesus said, this is amazing, unparalleled faith. In fact, as you read the Gospels, you'll only read 2 times when Jesus marveled at someone's faith. And both times, it was somebody who was not a Jew, but a Gentile. Okay, in this case, the centurion, and in the case of the Syrophoenician woman who wanted her daughter to be healed. Remember that? And even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. So Jesus was amazed by their faith, but then the Bible does talk about him marveling about the lack of faith that the people of Nazareth had. So the people that should have known best, the people that were most related to Jesus, closest to him in race and nationality and in geography, they didn't believe on him. You see, sometimes familiarity breeds contempt. Sometimes just because we grew up in that Christian school or that youth group or in Sunday school or whatever the case may be, does not necessarily mean that we have real and dynamic faith in Jesus. So here are these Gentiles, and Jesus uses this story, this real life story about the centurion to make a prediction. And that is that one day in the future, in the kingdom, there will be many like this centurion, many like that Syrophoenician woman, many who will be in the kingdom with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You're one of them as a Gentile, so am I. And there will be many that are Jews, God's people in that sense, that because of the rejection of Messiah and rejection of Jesus will not enjoy the kingdom. Now, what a rebuke this must have been for the Jewish readers of Matthew's gospel to realize, wow, Jesus has a heart for the whole world. This is a harbinger of the Great Commission. This is a harbinger of the fact that the Jew and the Gentiles will be one body. And the fact that the promise of Abraham's seed applied not just to the land and not just to the Jew, but to all those that come to Jesus by faith. Well, what an exciting and informative passage this is. Verse number 13, and Jesus said to the centurion, "Go thy way, as thou hast believed, so shall it be done unto thee." And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour. So a great, great teaching for us about faith, about the grace of the Lord, and about the ability for all of us, because of Jesus and because of grace, to come to him, Jew and Gentile, by faith. The King Jesus. That's it for today. We'll stop there in verse number 13, jump into another miracle next episode. Hope you'll join us. God bless you. Until then, my friends, we'll see you tomorrow.